have a new segment. We're taking a look at issues important to voters up and down the I-4 corridor in an area that is truly key to winning Florida in November and the nation. We're calling it Your Community, Your Vote, because in the end, let's call it as it is, it's all about your community and what you choose to do in the voting booth. Right now, the economy and concerns about inflation remain a top concern for so many voters. You know, a recent government report shows this. Inflation is slowing down. A University of Michigan survey shows consumer sentiment jumped up in the last 2 months by 29%, the most it has done that since 1991. But some in Central Florida continue to struggle with costs of living, including putting food on the table. Political reporter Jeff Allen looks into that struggle, which could have an impact on how people vote.
By the time this truck rolled in, there were already about 100 cars lined up, waiting for what that truck is about to deliver. Some drivers lined up just after midnight. It's a first-come, first-serve food drive. Amy Wilkins is in the fourth line of cars from the front, ready to wait as long as she needs to.
It's cold when you come in the morning time, but then later on it gets warm.
Wilkins says with higher grocery prices, she can no longer afford the food she needs.
I try to add up in my head how much it costs for the groceries, and whatever is there, and I don't think I can take it, I have to put it back.
Wilkins isn't alone. Second Harvest Food Bank of Central Florida says searches for food assistance online have doubled in the last year. So cost of living is on the minds of many Central Floridians as we head into the 2024 election.
The economy got to get better because the prices are going up. It's hard when you have a fixed income.
About 2 years ago, Wilkins began coming to this twice-monthly food drive at Patmos Chapel in Apopka. Church volunteers load up trunks full of several boxes of fresh produce, frozen meat, enough food for a couple of weeks. Arnell Smalley says demand picked up during the pandemic and has only grown since.
When God said, you know, when they were hungry, we gave them food. When they were thirsty, we gave them something to drink. And that's what we're trying to do here. When people are hungry, people are thirsty, we want to make sure that we're giving them ample opportunity to come through the line.
Smalley says the church went from serving about 200 families to about 600 families. Most drivers here aren't picking up food for just themselves. Wilkins shares her food with several other families.
Even when I'm ready to deliver food, I'm like, Amy, you got to do this, you know, get up, let's go. They need it just as much as you need it.
Wilkins says because of health problems, she could no longer work as a caretaker at a hospital, but she never lost her urge to help others.
I care about people. I try to help whoever need help. Friends that eat meat and stuff, whatever meat I have, I give it to them, and whatever food I don't use, I give it to them. So it's a helping hand.
Wilkins now stocked up with food for her and some of her neighbors, enough for about 2 weeks. But with the fluctuating cost of gas, it's still a struggle. She can't do this forever. She says prices need to come down.
Some of the time when I fill my car with gas, $50 worth of gas, and I have to make my runs to take food for other people, you know, I'm like, God, you got to send me a blessing.
Today, that blessing received. Her future uncertain.
Without helping hands, we won't make it in life.
And organizers of that food drive say they used to limit it to about 5 to 6 families per person of amount of food that they can pick up, but now they restrict that even more just to make sure there's enough food to go around. Beth.
Jeff, I got to ask you, what are the political implications of the economy on the 2024 race if it's Trump versus Biden again?
Well, it could have huge implications. Right now, there's been some really strong poll numbers that have come out showing consumer sentiment is improving, and we've even had some strong economic numbers come out, but there's still a large amount of the electorate that really blames Biden for what they feel is not a good enough economy. So we'll just have to wait to see how that plays out as we head to November.
Vicki Parker Cherry takes a moment away from her work to pray.
Jesus Christ is my Lord and Savior.
And her faith guides her belief that an unborn baby's life should be protected.
The Bible says that I knew you before you were formed in the womb, and that should be the safest place.
Parker Cherry is in the chapel at House of Hope Orlando, a faith-based home for troubled teens. But it's the unborn she's also been advocating for, and she believes a 6-week abortion ban going into effect in Florida is a huge answer to her prayers.
a huge victory for Florida, for everywhere, that we are going to protect those lives of those innocents.
Danielle Talafas still keeps a framed picture of her baby Nathaniel's ultrasound right above where she and her husband sleep each night. Talafas says after finding out during her pregnancy Nathaniel had a severe medical condition that he likely wouldn't survive, even with extreme medical intervention right after birth, she and her husband decided to end the pregnancy.
When you come across parents that have children that are terminally ill, you frequently hear them say they'd do anything to take away their child's pain. I was given that option. My baby never felt a day of pain in his life.
Talafas says she had no clue there was any problem with the baby until after 20 weeks into her pregnancy. She believes the choice should be up to the family and her doctors.
I've never called a politician to ask him what I should do for my dental care. I've never called a politician to ask if I should get my blood work done this year or not.
Reliving her family's difficult decision is tough, but she says it's worth it if it can help other women who she now worries won't have the options she had.
I'll just keep sharing this story so that people understand other reasons why women might have an abortion outside of they just didn't want the pregnancy. Because I wanted Nathaniel, I really did.
Parker Cherry believes life should be preserved, even in cases of rape, incest, and when the mother's health could be at risk. The new law of the land in Florida gives her hope, at least for now.
I'm a little concerned because in November, there's that amendment going on the ballot, and that amendment will do away with any protection we have.
In Seminole County, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.
The candidate running to unseat Rick Scott in the U.S. Senate is in North Florida today, working to get out the vote there.
Spectrum News political reporter Jeff Allen joins us from Jacksonville, where Debbie Mucarsel-Powell is getting help from a Democrat already in the Senate.
Georgia Senator Jon Ossoff joined Debbie Mucarsel-Powell on the campaign trail here in Jacksonville today. The two just wrapped up a rally here at the Garden Club of Jacksonville. Earlier, the two were firing up Democratic supporters at a union hall where they talked about environmental concerns. Senator Ossoff did what DMP is hoping to do. He unseated a Republican senator in Georgia, a state that, like Florida, is seen as usually Republican territory, but can swing to the Democrats depending on the election cycle and the campaign. Now, the two also visited a senior center. Mucarsel-Powell says she'll do a better job taking care of seniors if she's elected to the U.S. Senate.
We have seniors right now that are struggling. They want to make sure that they have someone in Washington that will protect their hard-earned benefits, Medicare, Social Security. Rick Scott is proposing eliminating Medicare and Social Security, and he also wants to eliminate Obamacare.
Mucarsel-Powell also went door to door in Jacksonville today, canvassing for votes. She says her campaign's exit polling actually shows her slightly ahead in this race for the U.S. Senate in Florida. Now, DMP is expected to be back in South Florida tomorrow and is expected to spend much of the remaining days of this campaign in that part of the state. Reporting on scene in Jacksonville, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.
We approach the upcoming 2024 election. There is a voter demographic that research shows lags when it comes to voter participation. Our political reporter Jeff Allen takes a deeper dive into the reason why not as many black men are voting. It's tonight's Your Community, Your Vote.
Marquise McKenzie says cleaning is something his mother didn't cut corners on, and that meant neither could her kids.
We used to hate her for it, because she used to make us do the tedious things like pull out the refrigerator, clean behind it, clean up under the stove.
The attention to detail came in handy when at just 16 years old, Marquise found himself locked up for armed robbery. In a perilous prison sentence, he found pride in doing something he could do well.
My dorm came in first place, and so I was like, if I'm doing this for free when I get out, I might as well do it, because I didn't think no establishment would be worse than cleaning a prison. So it was something that I learned a passion for at an early age.
When he was released from prison after he had trouble moving up in several jobs because of his felony conviction, he eventually started his own cleaning business.
I was like, you know what, let's just go for it.
But even a successful business owner, it took 10 years for Marquise to regain his right to vote. Only after Florida voters approved a ballot amendment pushed by the Florida Rights Restoration Coalition.
And so it's just a big old community event where they try to bring.
Marquise now works for that organization, helping other returning citizens fully regain their voting rights. He says the state voter registration system can create confusion.
We've seen people who felt that they was wholeheartedly eligible to vote, receive a voter registration card, and then they go vote and turn around and get arrested.
And he says that can lead to apathy.
They just totally just check out of the process, right? Even those who may be eligible or maybe right there at the finish line, one little hiccup can cause them to not want to be involved in the democracy, which is crazy. Appreciate you guys and have a nice day and enjoy your week.
Marquise says when he first got out of prison, he didn't care about voting.
And I think for a lot of people, they don't understand it, so they stay away from it. And I didn't think voting was necessary. Didn't think it was a tool that I needed to survive. And so it was the last least of my worries, to be honest.
He says now that he can vote again, he doesn't miss an election, but he gets why other black men don't vote. With that segment of society disproportionately incarcerated, Marquise says even if they regain their voting rights, many don't care to vote. He says those running for office must make the connections.
You think about black men who may be incarcerated, right? When you tie to them, like, okay, the local sheriff is the ones that control the jails. How were you treated in the jail? Do you know that your sheriff is coming up for election? Or the local judges, how did you get treated in the courtroom? Judges are elected officials. And so when you start to tie real scenarios and putting faces to names and positions to people, I think they understand it more.
Marquise says he doesn't vote for someone based on their party.
Yeah, I'm a war issue guy, but I try to line up the issue with the candidate to see if the candidate matches the issue.
As a small business owner, the economy is everything to him. As a father of 3, he's also concerned about education. And if government leaders or candidates aren't addressing affordable housing, he believes many in his community lose faith in the system.
Someone who don't, again, have nowhere to live, I can imagine like voting is not a priority to them. Someone who can't live with their family members because of their banned because of a conviction, voting is not going to be something. So having a candidate or an issue that's on a ballot that can address some of that, or at least to try to address some of it, that's one of the very first starts to get people to participate. If not, they don't see a reason to be connected to voting.
In Orange County, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.
If your home is where your heart is, the heart of Tanya Morales' home is in her kitchen.
And I love cooking with my daughter, and I like having people over.
But that place she loves the most is leaking.
There's just a whole bunch of water stains, and everything's kind of like peeling and melting away, and it's bubbled up here, and the multiple stains there.
Morales says hurricanes and other storms left her Plant City home's roof damaged, sending water dripping down into her kitchen and laundry room.
So every time I would see the clouds rolling in, I would like stack up towels here and just wait for them to, and they would just be soaked because I have floors that can't sustain, standing water. So I'm fighting a losing battle here living in Florida.
But her battle isn't just with the rain and leaky roof, it's also with insurance companies. In the less than 5 years she's owned her home, she says she's had to switch carriers several times due to insurers raising her premiums above what she can afford or even dropping her coverage for no apparent reason. She's now with Citizens Property Insurance, Florida's insurer of last resort. But Morales says Citizens won't settle her claim for roof repairs because of a defect with the roof.
According to the insurance, it's not sloped at enough of an angle. It only has a 1%. That's not anything I would know, but again, it was insurable.
A defect, she says, was there before she owned the home and before Citizens agreed to insure it.
What happens to my mortgage? Or the other scary thing, what happens if there's another set of damage or another something, no one's going to touch me insurance-wise because I'm a liability? I didn't ask for that.
Among other proposals in the upcoming legislative session, a Democratic lawmaker has filed a bill that would force insurance companies to participate in mediation when policyholders have a dispute about a claim. Morales says she's waited more than 3 months for Citizens to respond to her claim.
A conversation would have been nice instead of just no.
And on top of that, Citizens told Morales they're dropping her coverage altogether in April.
And she says other insurers won't even talk with her because she has an outstanding claim.
It's already very expensive, and if I'm having brokers telling me that they're not going to insure me, I've only lived here 5 years. I have plenty of mortgage left to pay. I have to have insurance.
For now, Morales is making the most of her leaky kitchen
Mushroom.
and letting the furry part of her family ease her worries.
They are completely in tune with like having a nice household. So it's more important for me to have like a nice safe home for them to be in. And they're a really good distraction from home ownership stresses.
But the uncertainty of her claim and whether she'll even find another insurance carrier when it's settled are weighing on this single mother's mind. Her daughter is 14.
We have driving, and then on the edge of that, we're looking at college and all of the expenses that come with an older teenage daughter. So in addition to a house and taking care of a daughter, I would love to phone a friend and hope that my insurance could be there for me.
In Hillsborough County, Jeff Allen, Spectrum News.